In life, fear and failure are inevitable, but they don't have to define us. Here, we explore 8 of the most inspiring and motivational speeches that highlight the importance of overcoming fear, embracing vulnerability, and pushing through failure to ultimately succeed. 1. Steve Jobs, Stanford University Commencement Address, 2005 quote, "You can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards." Steve Jobs' Stanford commencement speech is one of the most inspiring addresses of modern times, and it focuses heavily on the relationship between fear, failure, and success. Jobs shares his personal story of being fired from Apple, the company he co-founded, after internal struggles and the company's challenges in the 1980s. At the time, Jobs felt devastated, as his identity and success were tied to Apple. However, after being fired, Jobs went on to start Next and bought Pixar, the company that would revolutionize animation and ultimately be sold to Disney for billions of dollars. Jobs' experience highlights how a major failure, when viewed from the right perspective, can lead to unexpected and transformative success. He argues that sometimes, it's only by looking back at life that we can connect the dots and see how our failures shaped us. His advice is clear: trust the process, even when the outcome is uncertain. 2. J.K. Rowling, Harvard University Commencement Address, 2008 Failure meant a stripping away of the inessential. J.K. Rowling's speech at Harvard is filled with powerful reflections on her life before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. She opens by discussing the many failures she experienced, from personal losses to professional disappointments, before becoming one of the world's most beloved authors. She was a single mother, living on welfare, and battling depression, feeling that her dreams of writing were out of reach. However, it was during these low moments that she realized how much failure had allowed her to strip away the non-essential parts of her life, forcing her to focus on what truly mattered. Rowling speaks candidly about how the rejection letters she received from publishers did not define her worth. Instead, they taught her resilience and helped her refine her craft. For her, failure was essential for her personal development and her writing, and she encourages graduates to view failure as a necessary step in discovering who they truly are and what they are meant to do. This speech remains one of the most honest and motivational addresses about failure ever given by a public figure. 3. Nelson Mandela, Inaugural Address, 1994 I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter, I have made missteps along the way. Nelson Mandela's inaugural address as President of South Africa is a monumental moment not just in South African history, but in the global fight for equality and justice. Mandela speaks with humility, acknowledging the long and arduous struggle he faced in his journey to freedom, which included 27 years in prison. Despite his personal sacrifices and the constant fear he lived with during apartheid, Mandela never gave up the fight for a free South Africa. He addresses the importance of facing failures and missteps along the journey, and how they serve to strengthen one's resolve rather than diminish it. His reflections on his time in prison are especially poignant. He describes his willingness to face fear head-on, as well as his commitment to building a better nation, even when the path seemed unclear. Mandela's message is timeless: the struggle against fear and failure is necessary for growth, both personally and politically. He teaches us that missteps are inevitable but should never stop us from pursuing our highest ideals. 4. Oprah Winfrey, Golden Globe Awards Speech, 2018 What I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. Oprah Winfrey's Golden Globe speech became an instant classic, not just because of her eloquence but also because of the fierce message of empowerment it carried. Oprah reflects on her journey from growing up in poverty to becoming one of the most influential women in media. She emphasizes the importance of speaking out against injustice, especially as part of the #MeToo movement, which had gained significant momentum in the previous year. Oprah shares her personal experiences of overcoming various hardships and failures, including abuse and discrimination, which she faced as both a young woman and as a prominent figure in the media. Her powerful message encourages all people, especially women, to speak their truth despite the fear of backlash or failure. Oprah's speech was not only a moment of self-reflection but also a collective call for change, urging people to embrace their voices and use them to spark greater social change. In facing her own fears, Oprah shows us how to rise above failure and use it to fuel positive transformation. 5. Winston Churchill, Never Give In speech, 1941. Never give in, never, 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 in nothing, great or small, large or petty, never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Winston Churchill's Never Give In speech, delivered during the bleakest days of World War II, is often cited as one of the most powerful speeches of the 20th century. At this point, Britain had endured massive bombing raids by the Nazis, and the end of the war seemed nowhere in sight. Churchill's message was simple but forceful: do not give up, no matter the adversity. He speaks directly to students at Harrow School, encouraging them to take this lesson of perseverance and apply it to all areas of life. His own life had been marked by both triumphs and failures, and he knew firsthand how difficult it could be to maintain resolve in the face of fear. By urging the British people to stand firm, Churchill emphasized the idea that victory often comes not in the absence of failure but in the refusal to give up after it. His speech continues to inspire leaders and individuals to this day, reminding us that fear and setbacks are part of the journey, but we must never surrender to them. 6. Brené Brown, TED Talk on Vulnerability, 2010. Courage starts with showing up and letting ourselves be seen. In her groundbreaking TED Talk on Vulnerability, Brené Brown explores how embracing our imperfections is the key to living a courageous life. Brown, a researcher who spent years studying shame and vulnerability, reveals that we often avoid these emotions because they make us feel weak or unworthy. However, she argues that vulnerability is actually the source of true courage. Brown shares her own experiences of fear and failure, how facing her vulnerability helped her connect with others and discover her own strength. She speaks to the importance of showing up authentically, even when we fear rejection or failure. For Brown, courage doesn't come from perfection or avoiding failure, but from being open and allowing ourselves to be seen for who we truly are. Her message is one of radical self-acceptance, urging us to embrace vulnerability as a source of power, not weakness. 7. Ellen DeGeneres, Tulane University Commencement Address, 2009. Follow your passion. Stay true to yourself, and the rest will come. Ellen DeGeneres' commencement address at Tulane University is a unique mix of humor and heartfelt advice, delivered to graduates facing the uncertainty of the future. Ellen uses her own experiences to illustrate how fear of failure has shaped her career, including the risks she took in her personal life, such as coming out as gay in an industry that wasn't ready for it. She recalls the time when she was fired from her sitcom after revealing her sexuality and how that failure initially felt like the end of her career. However, Ellen found strength in staying true to herself and followed her passion for comedy and television, eventually leading to the success of The Ellen DeGeneres Show. Through humor and honesty, Ellen encourages the graduates to pursue what excites them and not to be afraid of failure. She reinforces the idea that failure is only temporary, and staying true to yourself can lead to unexpected success. 8. Thomas Edison, Interview on Failure, 1921. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Thomas Edison's famous quote about failure comes from an interview in which he reflected on his relentless pursuit of inventing the light bulb. Edison is known for conducting thousands of experiments, most of which failed, before finally discovering the right combination of materials and techniques to create a practical incandescent light bulb. In the interview, Edison stresses that every failure was a valuable lesson in the process of invention. He saw each failure not as a setback but as an essential step in finding the right solution. Edison's perspective on failure is one of unwavering optimism and determination. He believed that every failure was simply one step closer to success, and this mindset is what propelled him to revolutionize the world with his inventions. His words encourage anyone pursuing a goal to see failure as a natural part of the process, not a reason to give up. These 8 speeches all share the profound message that failure and fear are not the enemies of success but integral parts of the journey toward greatness. Ultimately, these speeches teach us that success isn't defined by the absence of failure but by how we rise after each setback. See you on the next one.